A cold breeze hit the back of Julian's neck as he looked into the wild ocean. Storm clouds spread across the sky, but it was too late to turn around. Julian took a deep breath and then jumped into the cold ocean. One of the fishermen saw a huge mass 1 meter away from the boat. He yelled at Julian to come back, but it didn't help. Julian had already gone a long way down into the water. Hello and welcome to Amazing Animal Stories. Today's story is about an orca that follows a diver. But when the diver looks down, he is shocked. However, before we begin our story, we would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel, Amazing Animal Stories, and press the bell icon. Let's get back to our story. Julian Dungio was a skilled diver who worked and lived in the Indonesian city of Gorontalo. Julian loved the ocean from the start. Julian took tourists out on the water daily to look at marine life. Every day was different for him. One day he might be leading a diving tour, and the next day he might be leading a boat tour. But on this day, he decided to join a fishing trip, not knowing it would change his life forever. Julian helped everyone get their fishing gear ready and get ready to go. After being on the water for about an hour, Julian and the other group members saw big, dark clouds coming closer over the horizon. Before going on the trip, he checked the weather report and saw that it was supposed to be clear and sunny all day. He shook his head, annoyed that the weather app was again wrong. No one brought their rain gear except Julian. It was almost impossible to fish without it. The crew decided it would be best to return to shore and end the day there. But as they were turning the boat around, Julian caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he heard a loud sound coming from under the boat. Julian walked to the edge of the deck, put his hands on the railing and looked down into the water. He wasn't sure what he saw, but something big floated under the boat. Even though it was barely moving, it was big and strong enough to slow the boat down. Julian's heart started to beat fast. When the rain stopped, he walked to the equipment room and got his wetsuit out of there. He was thrilled to find something new in the water. Others tried to stop Julian from jumping in, but Julian's curiosity got the best of him. As soon as Julian jumped into the water, one of the fishermen saw a fin next to the boat. His shouts for Julian to come back came, but Julian couldn't hear him. Julian was already underwater, diving deeper into this scary ocean mystery. Julian tried to calm his nerves as he got closer to the dark mass by swimming. He suddenly let out a gasp. In front of him was an adult orca that was 20 feet long. Julian had never been so close to a killer whale before, but he knew when they felt threatened, these creatures were intelligent and very dangerous. Then, Julian saw the fin on its back. There was something very wrong. Julian saw that the whale's skin had dents and strange shapes carved into it. Julian chose to look at it more closely. Now he knew that he wasn't the only one in danger. This orca was also in danger, and the closer he got, the more his body screamed at him to turn away. The fishing lines from the boat were wrapped around the orca, making it hard for it to move. The animal looked like it was under a lot of stress. Julian grabbed one of the fishing lines and tried to get it off the orca. The orca didn't like that, so it scarily snapped its jaw and almost grabbed Julian's hand. He tried to leave, but it was already too late. The orca started violently flailing from side to side to scare Julian away. Julian moved back, but then he saw that the boat on the water was also moving around. When he reached the surface, everyone was calling his name. They were glad to see that he was still alive, but everyone was now in danger. Rain was coming down again, and this time it was coming down hard. The waves were growing bigger and bigger. Worst of all, the boat could have turned over. They had to get back to shore right away. Their boat was too small and too weak to handle the rough seas. Julian knew he couldn't free the orca by himself, so he called a few other men to help him. Everyone looked at him like he was crazy, and then 3 men put their hands up. Julian told them to bring knives, but they didn't know what would happen. The only way to get everyone out of danger and the boat away from the storm was to work together and untangle the fishing lines from the stressed out orca. When the 4 men finally got close to the orca, Julian saw it was tired. The men slowly swam towards the orca. Julian kept an eye on its eyes, which were looking straight at him with a terrifying and regal look. The men began to work together to take out each fishing line one at a time. The orca started blowing water at them to get them to leave. It was hard to see anything because of the sudden waves. If you made one mistake, it would be over. Julian felt completely helpless for the first time in his life. Time was passing and he could see that the weather was getting worse. He had to find a way to keep the orca from getting upset, so he raised his hand again. Something unbelievable happened this time. As Julian looked into the eyes of this huge animal, he felt a strong desire to do something. He wanted the beast to know that he wasn't going to hurt it, and that it would be fine. Julian reached out through the bubbles and petted the side of the orca's body while keeping his eyes on it. The bubbles stopped all at once. Julian began to pet the orca's fin and talk to it in a calm voice. Then, everyone was very surprised when the orca stopped moving. Its eyes got softer and began to blink. Julian didn't think what he was seeing was real. It was clear that his touch calmed the animal down. Julian kept petting the orca while the other men took the fishing lines off its body. It took about 5 minutes to get rid of all the lines. They slowly moved away from the orca and moved carefully towards the boat. But the orca still had more to do with them. As Julian slowly moved away, he saw the orca staying still. The orca could go wherever it wanted, but it didn't move. Julian was in a bind. There was something wrong. Julian and the rest of the crew needed to get back to shore to escape the storm that was getting worse and worse. But Julian wanted to help the orca. He had worked so hard to free the orca that he felt he had a strange connection to it. He could no longer go back. Julian was unsure about getting on the board. Once the orca stopped the boat from moving, the crew couldn't wait to get back to land. Julian decided to try one more thing, even though he was stressed. He got a big stick out of the back of his fishing boat and used it to push the orca. Julian was worried that something had happened to the orca during the process and that it could no longer move. But when he gently pushed the animal with the stick, its tail started to move slowly. And soon, the orca's whole body was moving. Julian was so happy, but they still had a long way to go before they reached the shore. Would they get back home safely? Julian and the rest of the crew got back just as the storm started. This brave diver showed that you can get out of even the most dangerous situations by thinking ahead. Soon, many people saw the video of him helping the orca. Someone on the boat had recorded Julian untangling the orca's fishing lines, and Whale Stranding Indonesia found the video. They put it on their Facebook page and talked about how the brave diver helped the animal. People from all over the world praised the diver. Julian took this chance to say something important. Orcas, which are also killer whales, are the largest dolphins in the ocean. Julian hopes his story will change how people think about them, even though they look scary and dangerous. What do you think? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And that's it for today. We hope you found this story very interesting. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel, Amazing Animal Stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new uploads. In the end, thanks for watching and see you next time.